How you doing, everyone? Turkey Buzzard here. Hope you're having a good day. Well, this is going to be a little behind the scenes video just to show you how I put things together on this build and to show you some of the things that I don't normally show you in the tour videos. To start out with, I had people asking me where I did this build. This is Spectacle Island. So I have a mod called Spectacle Island Revamped, which flattens the island out and puts some stuff on here that occasionally I use but sometimes I don't like, so it becomes necessary to hide some of that stuff. First thing I want to show you is I put down grass, of course, which is all flat, and sometimes I don't like it to be flat, so thankfully in vanilla extensions there's a bunch of different decorative ground pieces. Let me see if I can get some of this up. There we go. A lot of different shapes they come in and sizes, so it's really handy to take that flatness off the ground mod. I like having flat ground, but occasionally you want some ground that's not really flat, so that comes in handy there. I had to use a ton of rock formations from the Nuka World part of the workshop, and of course sprinkled in some smaller rocks. The plants, ferns and tropical trees and plants, they come from a mod called Pimp Workshop, and they really come in handy in this build. Now if I can get up here, if I can get up to the top, I'll show you what's on the other side of this cliff formation. With the Spectacle Island Revamped mod, that's the little shack where you find the workbench, and that's of course the ship. And with this mod, there's actually a bridge that goes over to Warwick Homestead. It also puts, see if I can find it here, it also puts some military equipment on here, a military fort. And well, it looks like we're going downstairs here. This is part of the military fort, and as you can see, I've added a ton of turrets around the outside. The workbench now is moved over to here. You may, if you've seen my last military fort build, you may recognize this area. Now these are all hidden by the rock cliff, and it was quite a job. That's why the cliff is so tall, because I had a hard time hiding this tower. It's hard to tell where you're at because these rock cliffs are one-sided. So I had to use them to hide that tower, that communications tower or whatever it is. And that's why the cliffs ended up so tall up here. But it was part of the build that needed to be there anyways, so it worked out nice. And again, all these tropical plants and stuff, they're all from the Pimp Workshop. And I put a ton of these, they needed planter boxes. So I used concrete blocks from Snappy House Kit, and also these planters from Snappy House Kit, which happen to be exactly the same size as the concrete blocks. So that worked out nicely. And as you can see, the planters, the trees come in planter boxes. So I had to hide the planter boxes, and all I did was lower them down in. So that come out pretty nice, and I added a bunch of pre-war grass just to make it not look quite so smooth. And of course the fences. Now these floor pieces, these are from Castle in the Sky. And of course these restrict stripes, they are from the Settlement Objects expansion pack. So since we don't have any white lines or whatever, all we have is the restrict stripes. That's what I decided to go with. And I didn't have any tennis balls, so I put baseballs. But they had one of those tennis ball machines that tosses the tennis balls for the players to practice with, so I figured why not stick this pitching machine in here. And this is just a fence piece lowered down in, since we didn't have a net. And some of these you'll find these tables, I blew them up larger. These planter boxes are from geez, I don't remember the mod at the moment. After a while it's hard to remember some of these mods and mod authors. You know, I'm running well over 300 mods, so it's hard to remember them sometimes. This is an Institute couch. All I did was blow it up and stick the back of the couch back in there so you couldn't see it. Riverbed rocks from the ground mod. These are this pod is one of the museum pieces blown up. That's all that is. These are just small floors from the warehouse section. These up here are also from Castle in the Sky. These are part of the manor house, and what it is they're balcony pieces. So I put them back to back with a wall piece in between, and then that way I have the upper section of the garage. The roof pieces, those are all from Castle in the Sky, or yeah, not Castle in the Sky, Cabin in the Woods, which are both part of a series of mods. These are concrete planters. I just stacked them on top of each other. Again, those are all in planners already, so I have to hide them. This gate actually ends up going nowhere because it's a section that you cannot get to in the Blacklist game. So I mean, in the Blacklist game, you get to this gate and it's locked, so you can't get through. It's not part of your mission. And it's the same idea with this down here, this section. You can't go here because it's not part of your mission, but you can see it from the gate, so it was necessary to build it. All these walls, these are all from Snappy House Kit. And they're shell brick walls with the wallpaper. And then the reason you cannot see through these windows is because, let's go through this door and I'll show you. I put black wallpaper behind the windows. Since it's a nighttime build, I didn't want, you don't have to, there's no lighting behind the windows. So I put that black wallpaper there just so that you cannot see through the windows. Otherwise it would kind of ruin the ambiance of the build if you could see through the windows and see what's on the other side, which is absolutely nothing. It's the rest of the island or whatever's back there. I will take you around the outside of the island in a minute, as soon as I show you the rest of this stuff. Come to think of it, Symbiotic Settlements is the name of the mod where these planter boxes come from. It's hard to get onto these sometimes because there's so much other stuff. But this is Symbiotic Settlements, a planter box from that. More ferns from the Pimp Workshop. Seven people here, all guards. Since I copied the area from Blacklist, I had to put in the same number of guards which is in that game. More of the concrete blocks and the planters. And this is not exact with the Blacklist game, but it's a close rendition of it. Blacklist has these huge trunks every so often, and they're basically there to hide bodies in, so that that's the game gives you places to hide bodies so that guards don't happen upon bodies and throw out an alarm. A lot of this stuff is all do-it-yourself, the cabinets and stuff. And what I did was with these do-it-yourself cabinets, these are regular cabinets, these ones underneath, and the tall ones are do-it-yourself. And I basically put all that stuff there and stacked everything on it, and then for the bench top is a cabin half floor from Cabin in the Woods. So that's all I did was put that on top. And Creative Clutter allows you to build workbenches Let's see if I can. Crafting and vendors. Here we go. You can build these workbenches, crafting tables. And if you build those, then the pieces that go on them snap right on. But I didn't want the crafting table there to begin with. So all I did was took the pieces, the armor workbench, weapons, and chemistry, and just stuck them on this bench top. They don't snap there, but they still work. I mean, you can access them to get into your workshop to store things or to take things out, so it's handy. This here, in the Blacklist game, they had a big fan in the garage, and that was the closest I could come, is take an IV stand and blow up a desk fan and stick it on there. It's about the best I could do. And in Blacklist, they had a car here with the hood open, and the guy would step over and work on the engine, but we don't have anything like that in Fallout, so all I did was put this car with the trunk open, piled some things in the trunk, and of course this goes back out to this area. Just a lot of junk here. Warehouse. A mod called Warehouse allows me to have all kinds of stuff. I'm not even sure where this is. I think it's in furniture. I'm not sure. It's hard to find some of this stuff sometimes when you're running over 300 and some odd mods, but you know, the warehouse mod gives you all these different shelves, but it also gives you different components. Gives you different food items, which a lot of these I can't access because I don't have them in my inventory. The only thing I do have is milk. I mean, I have the cheat terminal, so I could actually spawn in a lot of the food items. And then all kinds of ammo stuff. So there's a lot of stuff in the warehouse mod. These are just toolboxes blown up. And what I did here for these walls, these are from Snappy House Kit. And I just basically put them together. There's one at the bottom, and then I had to put another one at the top in order to make it tall enough. And then I took iron fences from USO, Unlocked Settlement Objects, and I basically just blew them up and stuck them in there. Boxwood from USO. And these are from stone walls or from fences from USO. And this was hard to do because these are that's just the actual dirt of the island itself underneath there. And what I had to do here was I took the some floors from Castle in the Sky and laid them all down. basically did this whole thing. And then I took cement blocks. I'm not even sure if I can get hold of these cement blocks because they're only just barely sticking above the floor here. But basically, the concrete block pieces I put down and then moved them over, like, I don't know, there's certain amounts that you're allowed to move them with PC. Instead of place anywhere, you get place everywhere. And with that, you're allowed to nudge pieces a certain amount. Like for instance, my movement step, I can go 0.1, 0.5, 1. I can go 5. I can go 10. I can go 50. Or I can go 100. So depending on how far you want to move things when you nudge them. And basically all I did was laid the concrete blocks down and nudged them over a certain amount. But this was hard to do because, as you can see, I can't really snap on these concrete blocks unless I get in exactly the right spot. Otherwise, like right here, even though I'm pointing at the block, I'm getting the floor underneath it. So got a guard mat over here. I put enough guard mats down so that these guys, instead of just standing in one spot, will occasionally move around and go to different guard positions. That way sometimes they're walking, sometimes they're standing guard, which is the way it is in the Blacklist game. I didn't have a U-Haul like in Blacklist, so I just put a regular camping trailer here, and all I did was with this was I took a truck trailer flatbed and shrunk it down and put another one beside it and then set the trailer on top of it. Now these lights that are in the ground every so often in the game, how I did those was just basically stuck a blue lamp, table lamp down there so that just the bulb is sticking up, because that's all you see in the Blacklist game is the bulbs. And rolling metal doors, of course, that's from USO. And it was tricky building, you know, the house. There's absolutely nothing again behind these doors. At least not yet. So it was time consuming putting in all these rocks and the trees and stuff, because none of those trees and stuff were there. Because basically with this Spectacle Island mod, that area is all up in the air. So if I was to remove those rocks and scrap them, then you'd see a bunch of trees floating in midair. Again, this area is an area that can't be accessed in Blacklist. So all you can do is come over here and look out the gate. The dog, that's from Better Stores. Since there was a dog in the game standing guard, then that's all I did was put another dog in here. This area, again, nothing behind the door. This is nothing there. And all these walls are all from Castle in the Sky. They're manor walls. And again, these are concrete blocks. I shrunk them down, stuck them down in there so that they'd look like walkway pieces. More warehouse stuff. So it's pretty straightforward. This here, I stuck another piece of black wallpaper there so that you couldn't see what was behind there, because basically there was nothing behind there. Let's look at this place from the outside. Looking at this build from the outside, it looks like a mess. That should look familiar to you, being Spectacle Island. But, you know, it looks much different behind the scenes than it does on the tour video. Everything is only half here. You know, when you're inside the backyard, everything looks as it does in the Blacklist game. But the minute you go through the doorways, there's nothing there. Or at least there wasn't. You know, I'm working on the backyard now. So hopefully I'll have that ready for next week. Here's where I stashed the beds for these guys that are standing guard here. They needed food, they needed water. So all I did was stuck some water purifiers out here. And these rad stags are from better stores. There's 20 food, 45 water, and there's only 7 people, so they're pretty well set. This is another area that comes with the Spectacle Island revamped mod. I didn't want it in this build, so I had to hide all this stuff. You know, some of this I can get rid of, but there's a lot of it that I cannot get rid of. And rather than argue with this and try to get rid of stuff and then find out half of it won't let me scrap it and stuff, I didn't want to waste my time doing all that. So I decided to just hide it now. For some reason, that shipping crate came with the mod, and I don't know why it ended up in the air, but there's some of the stuff you'll notice that I can scrap these boxes, but these I can't. I don't know why. So I basically just hid it all. Now all that can be scrapped, but I didn't want to waste my time. So basically it was just hiding things with a bunch of rocks and tall fences. Cabin in the woods. Something that's kind of tricky is these pillars are actually, if I can, You'll notice that's wallpaper, which means that this is these are actually from Snappy House Kit. They're quarter walls, and I basically made them square pillars and then covered them with wallpaper, which was very time consuming. It's putting up 4 little walls and getting them to line up and then covering them with wallpaper. But I had to have some square white pillars for these sections. And I see now this here is a USS Constitution wall, and I had another one here, but somehow it ended up getting scrapped, and I ended up with a half a brick wall, and I didn't even notice it until after I did the tour. But it's no big deal. It came out pretty good anyways. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, I'm working on the backyard of this build right now. What you're seeing here is what was done last week. Right now, I've got a good section of the backyard done. And this build is huge. This is probably, when I get it finished, going to be the largest, or if not the largest, at least one of the largest builds that I've put together. And it's so complicated because everything is done in layers, you know, like this flooring. Not an easy build to accomplish. These are from Snappy House Kits, and they're trims pieces from, I think they're in the roof section. But that's pretty much it. And the backyard is complicated, if not more so than this area. I don't want to say too much and give away what I'm doing, but I'll tell you what, I've had a heck of a time putting this backyard together and getting it, because again, it's all in sections, it's all in layers. Nothing's flat, you know. There's so many areas back there where you're walking along, and then there's a set of steps that goes up, and then you walk over a little ways, and there's another set that goes down, and so it's a complicated build, but I'm having fun doing it. And hopefully next week I will have the backyard section done for you. But until then, hopefully you enjoyed seeing how I put this build together and what it consists of. So until next week, I want to thank everybody for watching, and have a good day, and I'll see you next week.